Hey, season 2, Cattle Drive Live, Corey Thompson. I believe we're on episode 11.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sounds about right. How's things in Oklahoma today, Brett?
Hey, look here. Hot. Had to knock the sleeves off. It got a little toasty today, but that's okay. A little rain last week, a little sunshine this week means for tall green wheat pasture if all things are good. So,
Yeah, exciting time of year. Everybody's getting ready to make some embryos, breed some cows,
oh yeah.
make that great calf crop.
I tell you what, if there's ever been a time of the year that optimism is at its highest spot, it is right now in all things agriculture. You are optimistic of planting, you are optimistic of breeding, and you are optimistic of a calf crop this fall that's going to pay all the above bills. So,
That's exactly
um,
right.
hey, this week brought to us by our old buddy Ethan Prop, ECP Cattle. Ethan is having a sale coming up, The Leading Ladies, Volume 3. It's a live sale. It's going to feature multiple breeds of cattle, top-end fall-borns from multiple breeders. He even has some elite embryo lots as well. Friday, April the 15th at the Oklahoma Beef Expo in Stillwater, the west side of the fairgrounds. These guys are going to have these cattle under the big tent. Sale will start at 5:30. Colonel Ron Cunningham will be the auctioneer. Cody Beck will serve as a consultant. There's a multitude of consigners: Ethan Prop, Brandon Fix, Willow Springs, Terry Lockhart, Wasey McDuffie, Will Lane, Brian and Brock Courtney, Zeb King, Casey Hilmus, Braden Hendricks, Parker Cantrell, Josh Winslow, and Carson Glover. These guys here, they're excited. They're excited to show. He was one of the very first guys when we decided to do this and do drive marketing. He wanted in. We'll do a drive. We'll feature him and those consigners and these sell cattle coming up here shortly. ECP Cattle. You can get a hold of him. Ethan Prop 918-864-6567. You can visit with him about those cattle, about those opportunities, and we'll update you through the drive marketing episode as soon as it comes out. So thanks to Ethan Prop for being our episode sponsor tonight, Leading Ladies Volume 3. So
You bet. We sure thank Ethan and Brett. These highlight spots are starting to book up fast, aren't they?
they are. I think people are starting to see kind of what's going on, and we expected that to be that way. I think what's unique is the ones that are in, they're wanting in long term. It's a once a month deal, and they're seeing value in what. Believe it or not, we actually show it. I think Paige is the one that brings value. We don't have any value.
No.
So, I think we're more like the exhaust pipe. Everybody talks about the motor. Nobody ever talks about the exhaust. So, hey, and we're not going to make a habit of this, but there is some family birthdays going on. One particular in my house, Hudson Cruz bust up number 11 today. My youngest son turns 11. Hudson Cruz, there he is with old number 90, as he calls her. And on Paige's family, I'm pretty sure she's family if Jake will ever get off his rear. We've got Brenham and Berwick, the two Bloomberg twins right there, turned big number 8 today, and it just was going to be not fair if we didn't include those 3 kids who are family to us here at the Cattle Drive Live. Happy birthday to them. Yeah, that's it, Corey. Big sale weekend in the state of Oklahoma and North Texas this week.
Yep, we're going to bust in here to these sales. Big sale week down there in your country. Nick Holterman Colt Cattle down there had a sale at Bruce Brooks' sales facility in Marietta. Sold 50 head of show heifers, averaged 6,300 on those heifers. Buck cattle there in Medill, Oklahoma, 72 live lots, average 13,925. Lot number 44 was the high seller. She was a Hereford female at 80,000. Matt Copeland and his family in New Mexico, their 48 Hereford bulls averaged 6,200 down there in New Mexico. And that Hereford sale on the Hereford track there, the Ned and Jan Ward NJW pulled Herefords in Wyoming, sell 93 head of bulls for a $10,300 average, 37 open heifers for an 87.60 average, 9 head of bred heifers for an $11,444 average. C4 there in Landon Cattle in Perkins, Oklahoma, 35 bulls on that sale, averaged 58.48. Kyle Conley and the Conley crew down there in Sulphur, Oklahoma, they sell 21 head of show heifers for 14,933, 13 pairs at 10,385, 56 embryos for an average of 1559 to gross 745,820. Congratulations to Kyle and his crew. Top seller on that sale was half interest in a Follow Me Son for $100,000. Then we got some show circuit highlights as well, don't we, Brett?
That we do. Caffey bull sale was just this past week, and I tell you what, those guys do a phenomenal job. 63 bulls, Corey, average 59.60. They sell a May We All son at 18,000, a Here I Am son at 15,000, and then a Sam son at 16,500. What's crazy? They sell 24 different states. Frankie Cattle, Jake Frankie, buddy of ours, does a drive marketing with us a few weeks ago. I died laughing. Page loads the sale and it says something like hot Americans or whatever. And those of you that don't know, Jake's place caught on fire the week before his sale and they had to move everything. I tell you what was hot was that sale. 41 lots, average 91.21, and two top lots, 37 and 38,000. Not too bad for a set of American cattle in the state of Texas, buddy.
That's tremendous. That is a tremendous sale.
And it goes without us saying, it is now the important time, as he says, it's the most important time of Cattle Drive Live. Anytime you cue the video for Where in the World is Kent Jakey? Do we have it for tonight?
Hi, guys.
Hello, Jacob.
That cartoon kills me every time.
It's a little horn in the background. Beep, beep.
I know. And ironically, I'm sitting in my car in the parking lot of a Cheddar's restaurant here in Bowling Green, Kentucky tonight. So I made it to Bowling Green tonight, and so that's where I'm at in the world today. But I had a kind of a wild weekend. Of course, after the Ohio Beef Expo a week ago, what a way to kick off. You know, I mean, really the beginning. I mean, I've been selling this juice for about 45 days already, but really it doesn't really start until that Ohio Beef Expo. And that Ohio Beef Expo was crazy. I was going to tell you about that last weekend, but I mean, it was wild. You've never seen anything like this Ohio Beef Expo. I mean, mamas pushing baby strollers with semen tanks in them, and they bring wagons with them in it. I mean, they line up. It was just an awesome crowd, and we had an awesome weekend. So it's just a pretty cool event. So anyway,
so
yeah.
Your week was at the Ohio Beef Expo. You just queued. I mean, you probably is that just such a big event that when it's over, you just take a few days to restock, reload. I mean, everybody you talk to just seems like, I mean, not just you. Every semen distributor that I was able to visit with this week real quick just talks about the number of folks
Yeah, I mean, and what was really interesting is, and you really don't, every year it's a little different, but we put a pretty strong emphasis on this red gene. I mean, we bought this bet on red bullet warnings, and we bought this new bull called Payroll that we own with Bob May and Frankenrider and Ace's Wild Ranch in Texas, and um, and we sold out of those two bulls.
Wow.
I mean, they bought this red gene. They wanted those red bulls. And then Cavanese, I mean, the spot on bull wheel with Van Hove, I sold out of that bull. Full Tilt is the bull wheel with Matt Copeland, sold out of that bull. Gold Standard, they about beat me up on that. But I mean, Loverboy, I mean, I think I sold 280 units of Loverboy while I was there. So I mean, it's just Cavanese and this red gene. Now they buy everything else too, but I mean it was
Right.
very strong emphasis on that for me. Now I mean I know they go to Wade and buy Here I Am and God We Trust, but that was the thing that I guess I was most surprised about is how strong that red gene popularity of that red gene is, and
That's awesome.
those red bulls we have.
Right.
You go.
So I know you didn't let the grass grow in your tires. I hear you were flying around the country trying to get some cattle sold too, not just juice. So tell us a few sale reports you have.
Yeah, well, I actually hung out in Columbus on Monday waiting on a tank to show up on Tuesday so I could restock. And then I kind of called on some Indiana. I made a big swing through Indiana and Illinois on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday I ended up in southern Indiana. I got another tank. Corey sent me another tank that I needed on Friday. So I waited around for that. And then I went to, drove down through Nashville and Louisville, and I did Deer Valley Angus sale on Saturday. We sell 78 bulls, average 6108 in Fayetteville, Tennessee there for the Clark family. Of course, Jonathan Perry manages that. And then I ran up to Nashville, got on a plane, flew into Dallas Saturday night, and then I went and worked WHR Shorthorns on yesterday, and we sell. I think we had 54 lots, average 14.3 on the total deal, but 42 open heifer calves, averaged 16,223, and had a high of 75,000 on a little September heifer calf. Sold her full sister for 50, and then had another November heifer calf we sell for 60. I think we sold 6 head at 50,000 or over. So just a big crowd, a really, really good event. It's really the only place in the country you can buy this many fall shorthorn heifer calves. And of course, Bill Razor and his family have been doing this. This was their 28th year to do this. And just an awesome family. And Sarge is there he still helps out with that deal, even though he's employed now by his wife more than anything. But he still shows up and helps for the sale. And it was just big crowd and just had a great deal. And then flew back in last night, back into Nashville. And today I called on all these breeders in Tennessee. So I made 6 herd visits today, and now I'm back in Bowling Green. I'll call on Kentucky guys tomorrow, and then I'm going to go spend the next week in Ohio. So before I come home for our bull sale.
Well, good deal.
I was going to say, don't forget about that bull sale coming up.
No, I know. I got to get John. Remind me of that. He said, "When you coming home?" I said, "Well, when I'm done selling this semen in Ohio is when I'm coming home." So, yeah.
Okay, well, Jake, it was good talking to you. Be careful in your travels, and we will catch up with you Monday night.
I'll see you guys next week. Y'all have a good week.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Kent. Yes, sir. Always good to talk to that guy. You know, he's always full of. He's always. Well, I was going to say he was full of something I didn't want to say on here, but he's always full of enthusiasm. So, yeah.
Hey, now we got the premiere of the Matt Lautner cattle Super Bowl video. Is that right, Brett?
That's what I've heard. I saw it all over Facebook today. He
Yeah.
likes this cattle drive deal, and
You and I haven't even seen this
no,
deal.
I'm a little bit of him. He's a little bit spooked here, but I got a feeling that hey, he's innovative in marketing. So let's see just what's up Matt Lautner's sleeve.
Here I Am has had a tremendous run, and MLC is excited to own the top 2 sons in the entire industry that are improving head, neck, and shoulder design. I Am Here and King Cobra at only 3 and 4 years old have delivered multiple fat steer champions across the country. I Am Here is backed up by the legendary Goat Monopoly / Hoodaman donor that is also the dam of Goat Get Ya Some. We like I Am Here best when mated with I-80 and maternal made daughters. King Cobra descends from Dan Laffenberg legendary Ali donor and is clicking the best with clean clubby bred cows and also Irish whiskey derivatives. King Cobra also sired the nationwide high seller at $140,000 in March during Lubbock weekend sales in Texas at Brian Martin's. We have always been a fan of burly-built cattle, but the cows are starting to come back into the barn in terms of show steers needing to look like show steers in their front 1/3. King Cobra and I Am Here are delivering that style and show ring appeal while not sacrificing on width and dimension. Don't be left behind. This is going to be fun. Breed for the look. King Cobra and I Am Here. Order today at the Matt Lanter Cattle Office at 515-391-9540.
I fall right to the top if you try to hold me down, singing hey, yeah, hey, yeah.
There you have it.
Hey, that was pretty well done.
I just can't wait till we get to the point we can charge like $2 million for a minute and a half, like the Super Bowl. That's what I can't wait for. Hey, thanks to Matt. He likes what we do. He wants to be involved. He's a long-term signed up for a long-term deal with us, and so there was his new commercial. Hey, back by popular demand. I don't know that we've ever had a guest on this show to this point that pumped up more people and got my text messages, Snapchats fired up than the Tucker Stewart. We are blessed to have him with us again. Look at him.
Can you guys hear me all right?
You bet. We got you, Tucker.
My computer kind of crashed on me, so I had to pull up the old phone to make it work.
Hey, I'd rather your computer crash than your scooter.
I'm not on it as much as I used to be, but, there was a few close calls there.
Oh, hey, what do you got for us this week? I promise you, the agricultural side of you, the government, your spiel 3 weeks ago was raved, and we are thankful that you're able to come back, hopefully periodically, every other week, every week, whatever you can do. Fill us in a little bit, current events in terms of agriculture within government.
Yeah, so actually some pretty exciting news for my boss. Earlier last year, we're in the middle of a 2-year cycle. So for those that don't know, I'm Tucker Stewart. I work for U.S. Senator Roger Marshall. He's a medical doctor from Kansas and on the Agriculture Committee here in the United States Senate. So pretty cool to be one of only really 22 staffers in the world that is solely focused on the Senate Ag side of things. And so earlier today, the Supreme Court actually announced something really, really cool. So a while ago, for those of you out in California, your voter base enacted something that was called Proposition 12. And Proposition 12 would implement certain restrictions on all imported pork and veal, and I'm pretty sure eggs. I can't really remember the extent of it, but basically eliminating the use of gestation crates in swine production. And not only was that in California, but that was the importation of any meat into California. So they effectively established a regulation in California that applied to all of the United States pork producers. So kind of a scary thought. The pork producers sued on that under what's called the Dormant Commerce Clause, and they kept getting struck down and losing at lower level courts. And a previous iteration of this lawsuit was denied review by the Supreme Court. But this morning, the Supreme Court announced that they will indeed take that case and they will get to listen to both sides. And so a pretty big win for the pork industry and the agricultural industry in general. We're hoping to do some stuff to help bolster that here in the Senate. But ultimately, that means that this lawsuit could potentially be struck down, or that law in California could be struck down under the Dormant Commerce Clause, which would be a huge win. I mean, look, we all know the problem is, radical environmentalists in places like California have a significantly larger voice there than they do in DC. So if they can start passing things at the state level that forces the rest of the country to adhere to or just not go into that market, then it's a pretty scary thing. And earlier the last year, we introduced legislation that would preempt them from doing that type of action. But it's really kind of nice for them to be able to take this to the Supreme Court. And so a pretty exciting time for agriculture. And I think it'll be a pretty big case. If this gets struck down, huge win for agriculture. If this gets upheld, then it becomes kind of a scary thought. And it's really going to require some type of actual legislative change on our end to combat, basically. But it's kind of odd. We spend all our time up here opening up trade windows into China or Canada and Mexico or Japan or Korea, attempting to get into UK, EU, and they always hit us with trade barriers and non-tariff trade barriers specifically. And now not only are we having to negotiate free trade with other countries, we're going to have to negotiate free trade with California. It's pretty asinine in my opinion. Another big notable that happened up here outside of the agriculture industry was the president released his proposed budget. So the way the budget works up here is the president will propose a budget. The House of Representatives will take that, negotiate it amongst themselves, send it to the Senate. The Senate will get negotiated amongst ourselves. It'll go to conference, and then it'll go back to the president for a signature if they get it passed. But the notables in there, it's a $5.8 trillion budget with a 20% increase over 2021 for the IRS, a 30% increase over 2021 for the EPA, two pretty adversarial agencies for agriculture. And it has $1.5 trillion in tax increases. This would be the largest tax hike in American history. A lot of that's they're trying to focus on the upper echelon, increasing the corporate tax rate, increase the highest tax rate on individuals. And then there's a provision that would tax unrealized capital gains for households over $100 million. So unrealized capital gains obviously would be basically any of your investments that you haven't actually sold. So if you're being taxed on the gains and haven't sold them, that means you usually would have to sell something to pay the taxes on the gains. The USDA budget is up 9%. And I haven't had time to really dive into every little piece of the USDA budget, but it seems like there is a lot of funding increasing in the research side of things, the conservation technical assistance side of things, and rural broadband. But those are kind of the high level budget issues in the president's budget that was just released this morning. The final notable, there's been a lot of discussion in the cattle business about mandating market participation at the packer level. Folks would call it the 5014 bill or things like, but it looks like they have come up with another rendition of the bill that would mandate kind of a certain type of transaction at the packer level. And I think that was introduced today as well. Again, that came across my desk very, very at the end of it. So couldn't tell you exactly what the details are and what has changed in that without diving in too deep. But that's kind of the general update. You know, the theme that I keep seeing up here is the president making a bad situation worse, right? We talked a little bit about how Ukraine could impact food security, and I'm already hearing even more reports that there's some significant unrest in lower income countries, especially around the Middle East, who really rely on that bread coming out of the Black Sea. We still have a lot of wheat stores in the United States. There's still a lot of wheat stores across the world. But when you're a country that doesn't have a lot of financial capability, you're not buying out long-term contracts, you're buying short-term contracts. And so they're getting stiffed with a pretty hard increase in wheat prices right now, which is substantially increasing the price of food in several different countries. So I continue to beat my head against the wall, educating folks up here about agriculture and the real world. And it reminds me of a saying that another Kansan had, President Eisenhower: farming looks mighty easy when you're when your plow is a pencil and you're 1,000 miles from the cornfield. So that's the challenge we're faced with up here, and I'll continue to try to do God's work.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, Tucker, hey, we sure appreciate having you. We'll hopefully get you on more often here and try to get to the bottom of some of this stuff. It's a volatile market right now. There's all kinds of stuff happening in agriculture, and we look for your insight as much as we can get you. So thanks a lot for your time, pal, and we'll see you soon.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Tucker. Man, good stuff out there.
You bet. That was great. Now we're on to the meat and potatoes of the show, Brett. The one and only guy I look up to all my life, Kirk Stierwalt.
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
You bet. Kirk.
I appreciate the vote too, Corey. All right. So
yeah, I mean, you don't grow up in the 90s and not know who Kirk Stierwalt and Bob May are, Art Opus and that whole. I mean, that was just that was an era right there, right?
Oh yeah. That's why I got that one picture in there. So when we get to that, I'm going to comment on all that. All right. So I put that in there for a reason. So
you did.
Yeah, I could have told Bob and Mark and Brandon and Horn and all them guys to make sure they watch tonight, because I'm gonna cook them up one right now. Right?
Oh, it's great.
Hey, Kirk.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about how you got started, where you come from.
Yeah.
Kind of what were the early years like?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in southern Iowa. I mean, really, I'm down in there where I grew up. I mean, just to drop some names, would be, Brad Hook, Tracy Gretzka, the, Sandys. I mean, all that bunch down in there in southern Iowa, Corden area. But I grew up 17 miles north in a town called Sheraton. And anyway, like I said, I wasn't a farm kid. I grew up in town. My folks had a shoe store and a boot store and sold anyway, just retail, and I and what's funny, and my granddad raised Hereford cattle. So that's where I kept my calves, and I kind of just took a love to it, and like I said, I clipped my first calf when I was 6 years old pretty well. I gave it a haircut that counted, I promise you. But anyway, the old Brown. Anyway, I gave him a haircut that would last. So anyway, but I didn't know any better. But anyway, but my granddad was real, he was really encouraging. Like, he wanted me to do it. He encouraged me. So to me, but and I mean, most of the time, those back in those days, anybody that was showing livestock were farm kids. They were ag kids. I mean, they grew up on, and I was kind of oddball because I was a town kid, but I kept my calves out there at his place. So anyway, but like I said, I did all my own grooming all the way from the get go. I mean, he started, I mean, he would do it, I mean, of course we didn't do it like we do today. We were grooming on them, but it was be minimal, I mean, compared to today's time, but still it wasn't long before then. I mean, I wanted to do it. And so, I was good at art. I mean, I took art in school, pottery, did all that. My dad was really good in art, and I mean, he drew our Christmas cards, and he could whittle and do all this kind of stuff, and he was a super artistic man. I think I got some of that, I guess, from him, and good Lord above. And my mom can't even probably draw an X. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the difference in them too. I mean, but that's where I got started, and so I just started, watching people and trying to figure out how to clip them. And like I said, I used the old brown Sunbeam sheep heads. That was my first clipper. I mean, that's all there was. I mean, it was either that or I guess scissors. I don't know. But anyway, I mean, it was just one of the things that, I mean, you had a flathead and a sheep head, and there was a barber clipper around at that time, but I mean, it was pretty, I mean, I'm just saying it was, of course, I mean, I just did it. I mean, I just kept watching people and trying to figure out how to do it. And I was just intrigued by it. And I think my mom there was a time there that, I mean, I had a chance to pursue art. I mean, I had some opportunity to go through the art world, but I never pursued it. I just, all I wanted to do is give a cow a haircut. I don't know. That's just where I was headed with it. I just was infatuated with it. And it's, and I just kept trying to be better, and anyway, so, yeah. And then, I mean, like I said, I that's the way it was. I mean, I liked the challenge, you know what I mean? And I really liked it. So it's like, I don't know, that's kind of how I got started. So anyway, and I mean, my calves, the most expensive calf that I had showing cost $850. And I mean, you'd have thought we'd like sold the farm to get him. But I mean, it took all the money I had to pay for that steer, $850 back in that day. And that's like crazy today, of course, I mean, y'all doing all that pricing and all that stuff, but I mean, it was a Hereford cross steer, a Hereford semi steer that he was. And I won my county fair, and I got in the top 10 at Exarban and showmanship, and I took him to state fair, and he won his class up there. And I just felt like I mean, my kids have won way more than what I won as a kid. I mean, I won our county fair a couple times, and if I won my class at state fair, I was killing it. You know what I mean? But I mean, my kids have done so much more than what I did as a kid. But I just, like I said, I just kept trying.
Right.
But,
so you visited right there about in your early years of watching and learning and becoming a student of the game. Who would you have looked up to in that time? Who was the Kirk Stierwalt of that day?
Well, I mean, like for me, it would be pretty easy for me to say, but it would be Dwayne Hilbert would be the one that set the bar. I mean, and I was infatuated by that. I mean, like, I would see them cattle that he clipped, and it was like, I got to figure out how to do that. I mean, I was so obsessed with like trying to figure out how he did that, and yeah, and it was just one of them things. And it was a big deal for me because, I mean, as time went on, I mean, he only got the best up there to clip for his sale too. I mean, that was the other thing. And my God, I mean, I remember the day he called me and wanted me to come up there and clip at the sale, and I just thought, man, I kind of like made the cut, man. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh man, and I was all jacked up because and then I got up there, and he stuck at that time. He stuck. Let's see. I got to think about this. Shane Lindsay and I think it was Denny Carnahan on one shoot, and I was trying to figure out where I was going to go. And he goes, Stierwalt, he goes, you're going to clip with me. And I was like, oh, crap, I don't know if I want to clip with you. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, man, I just soon be over here on this other shoot, you know, but because I was gonna make me a nervous wreck, you know. I was like, I probably was like, you know, like, okay, Dwayne, I'll help you, but anyway, yeah. But anyway, but I learned a lot, and I don't know why he took a liking to me, and it just, you know, he taught me a lot of stuff too, you know. I mean, but he was a guy to watch. I mean, he did stuff that nobody else could, and I mean, he was just the one that I mean, he just he just set a standard, and he set the bar, and he's part of the timeline why it is what it is today to me. I mean, you know, so he took it to the next level, I guess what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How long did it take you, Kirk, to dig in and kind of find your style and figure things out on that end to where you were that level?
Well, I mean, probably, I mean, in 81 would be the year for me. I mean, and I guess I'd have been, I mean, I think probably around 20 or somewhere in there, you know, I mean, 18, 19 years old, somewhere in there. And I'm just saying, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where, well, it's like I didn't really know what my style was. You know what I mean? I was just trying to, but I did have a style, but it's like, it's almost like you gotta, you know, you can have a style, but if nobody likes it, I don't know how worthy that style is, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, but I mean, I guess what I'd say is when the first one that won, or like me, and I'm just saying, you know, a major national show would have been 81. So I guess that's probably, you know, I figure I crossed the hump. Yeah, and I look at them things. I mean, you can't imagine now, you know, but
Whoa.
yeah, 81. And I mean, like, I got this picture. You see the depot there, but like the steer on top is, I mean, like I said, I got a phone call and from that guy, and he heard about me from the guy that they bought the calf from, and that guy called me and said, hey, and he had Black Nero. So, I mean, this was, you know, there was Nero, which is a sire of Sugar Ray. This guy owned Black Nero, all right? So, but anyway, he had these bulls that he wanted to put in the key bulls in. He said, I got 5 out there. I want you to come out here and clip them. I'll give you 100 a head. And I thought, man, that's awesome, because back in those days, I mean, if you got 100 a day, you were like you were killing it. I mean, you had to be dang good to get 100 a day. Well, anyway, he told me to give me 100 a head. I was like, son, he's gonna pay me to come out there, and I'd never been to the National Western. And I mean, I thought I was gonna fly, but you can look down in that picture. That's why I put that there. But anyway, that's a depot, because I didn't get to fly. He bought me a train ticket, and I rode from Osceola, Iowa to Fort Morgan, Colorado. And anyway, so I got out there, and he says, hey, I got this, my daughter's got this steer. And I mean, if I think you're good enough, I mean, I'd like to pay you 300 to clip him and fit him. So I figured, well, now I'm up to 800. So I'm doing pretty good here. And then he kind of popped off, and he said, you know, if you can get that steer to win, I'll give you 10% on top of all that. So anyway, and I was like, really? And man, I tore into him. I mean, I was like, I was like, man, I'm in on this. But anyway, so I think I'll stay here a while. All right. But anyway, and that son of a gun won, of all things, and brought a record 30,000. And I remember that guy wrote me a check for 3,800. And in 81, I thought, man, I'd killed it. You know what I mean? So
Hey,
I mean,
did you fly home or did you ride the train back?
I rode the train back. You bet.
And how old were you in 81, Kirk?
Let's see. I think it was 19 years old. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
Wow. Sophomore in high school.
And then
You'd have been just out of high school, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just right out of high school. Yep.
Yeah. And
That's awesome.
I was my first year in college, I think, because I had to come back, and my advisor called me in, and he was chewing me out because I'd been gone for a few days, you know what I mean? And he says, where you been? I was at Iowa State, and I mean, and he asked me, like, where you been? I mean, you got to get back in school. And I was like, yeah. He said, I told him, I said, well, I went to National Western. He goes, well, you need to stay in school, and you need to forget them shows. You don't need to be going to those shows, and you need to make sure, I mean, you just make sure you stay in school. I mean, he goes, you can't be making we're talking about, I mean, you can't make any money out there. I mean, doing what you're doing. And I'm like,
You
finally,
showing your check?
yeah, he did. He says, well, that's not going to happen all the time. You got to get back in school. All right. So anyways, but I mean, and like I said, that the same year was the steer, they called him JRC. And that was the year that was when JR and Dallas, the Dallas show.
Mhm.
Yeah. JR Ewing, so that's, Lautner's raised him. If you look in that picture and if you look real close, I mean, that's me on the back. And then you got Wayne Lautner, which would be Phil's brother. And so Phil's the one that kind of, I'd say marketed him, and Wayne raised him. And I was, like I said, I'd never met those guys much. And anyway, we got, family there in Iowa bought it, showed him around, we won all over. And then Herb Vogel from Texas heard about him, and he went up there and bought him. But anyway, and so he ended up in Texas eventually. But that steer, back then they had World Steer Show. That picture's the Iowa State Fair, but they had World Steer Show. Like they had I'm just saying, like after all the state fairs, I mean, like say if they had the Iowa State Fair, once the junior cattle show, then they had the World Steer Show, which would be the no rules, anyone from anywhere can show. I mean, it's gloves off, let's go. And so and anyway, that steer was always a funny steer because it changes, but I mean at that time he didn't look very good in the stall. And I'm just saying is, he changed a lot when you fit him, and that's where he'd always, that's always was the kind of deal that that always kind of got people because they didn't think he looked that great. And then when we got him put together, he won there, and then he won the Nebraska World Steer Show, and then he ended up winning the Dallas State Fair. He won 3 state fairs. So anyway, but those two are like right together. And for whatever it's worth, they just got me a phone call. We didn't have these, cell phones. I'm just saying, you just had to go on word of mouth and hoping somebody would call you, and then you hoped you didn't miss it because it wasn't like you didn't have a recorder at that time either. I'm just saying,
Right.
Yeah, I was just saying that, getting a hold of people was, it was a lot tougher. It's just a lot different day, but yeah, those two mean a lot to me, and like I said, and yeah, that's how it got me going. I always like those two always mean a lot to me just because they were kind of how I got started.
I like it.
I got another job out of the deal. I got another phone call. I got another opportunity and stuff like that. So yeah, that was good stuff. It's pretty hard to look at them today, but anyway, hey, they still mean a lot to me. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, that's
So,
good.
as bad as they look, they still, they played a big part in me getting going. That's right.
They said that the trend of those cattle eventually got where they started bringing them back down. Was that just because you and Bob May were so short?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if they're like, okay, all the fitters are short. We need to get the cattle smaller. But
hey, this ain't no joke. This is the honest to God's truth. But I would have my clipper box and I would carry a calf manna feed pan around. I had a clipper box in one hand and a feed pan in the other one because that was for me to stand on to clip, because there's no way I could reach way up here, so yeah, it was like, that was just part of the deal, so didn't need fitting mats, man. You need something to stand on.
Yeah. Hey, so we're moving forward in your lifetime and this and that. What about coming from son of a shoe salesman, as you say, lived in the town. Although your granddad had a Hereford deal. What part of it? What was the hardest part for you to feel like to perfect? At that time, there was no education, there was no clinics, there was no there was no education side. What did you feel like was the hardest thing for you to perfect, to learn?
That's a tough question. For me, I'd say it seemed like there was a little bit of the neckline, you know what I mean? The necks and shoulders. I'm just saying is, you know, they would leave more hair up on them, and then we got to taking them down tight. Then there was a trend there where people were, people started peeling them off and shaving them tight, you know, like really taking them down tight. And then we went back to leaving hair back on them because it made them look beefier. But at one time when they were too chunky, you tried to lean them up and make them look, you know, and I'm just saying is that neckline to me was always a challenge trying to make, because just, and you know, the hair wasn't as good as it is now. You know, I mean, they had hair. I mean, I'm just saying, but man, these things today are crazy haired, you know, they're awesome. I mean, like, but I'd say that probably. And the other thing is like, it's to me, the neck. I mean, all they got to do is just do that to you, you know what I mean? And you're into them, you know what I mean? And so it's just a challenge to me anyway, you know, but I don't know. And maybe that's not the right answer, but I just felt like that's probably the tough. I mean, I think you could do from the shoulders back and get all that. You know, the belly changed, you know. I mean, you know, because we didn't just automatically leave hair on the bellies. And we talked about this at OYE the other day. I mean, you know, we shaved the belly, you know, that, and, you know, you wanted them tall, but, you know, the reason you shaved the belly, well, they wanted these things to look tall and lean and tubey and all this kind of stuff, you know. And so we did all we could to make them look like that. And then they started wanting to deepen them up. And so we didn't just leave hair on the belly. We started leaving it from the sheath or navel back. And then eventually, of course, it went from the sheath or the navel forward. And then we just did the whole thing. But, I mean, yeah. And I'm going to say this. I mean, in today's fitting, I tell you what, a good belly in one still, to me, looks awesome. You know what I mean? When it's done right. I mean, it's just, man, I just think that's as good as it gets. I mean, you see the belly shaped in there, and it still looks natural. You know what I mean? But that picture there that you put up there, the one that she had there, that pit, we call that picture Mulletville. But anyway, so I'm just saying is that's a good picture because that's Brandon Horn on the halter. Then you got Mark Kopus, then you got Judy Horn, which would be Brandon's mother. And then you got Bob May, and you got me, and then you got Colby, his brother. But I mean, what I'm saying is, but if you look at Brandon and Mark and Bob and me, I mean, those. What I'm saying is, there's 4 guys or 4 individuals, and you know, they were all young and you know, just trying to. And I mean, they've all put a mark on this industry. You know what I mean, and done a good job. And it's that's just kind of a neat picture, you know what I mean? It's about who's in it to me. And you know, because they all went on and did great things, you know. A lot of in that picture. Well, look at Brandon, his daughter just got done with Houston here, you know what I mean, and whatnot. So yeah, good stuff.
Absolutely. Hey, Kirk, tell us a little bit about your involvement with the Weaver Company and kind of the input and what, you know, kind of your role in terms of, you know, putting together those products and stuff.
Well, you know, and I mean, and the thing about like Weaver, I mean, it was a good thing for me. I mean, it was a great thing. I mean, as far as just being able to be involved with that. But, you know, it all started out with a show halter. I mean, they just called, you know, Lisa Shear just called me and they were needing help with a show halter, you know what I mean? And I had these ideas on this show halter stuff, and I really didn't know what to do with it. And I didn't want to really share it. And but I thought about maybe trying to maybe put it together for myself. And I was like, I don't know, you know what I mean? And it's like, and I'm talking about the spike and you know, I even had a cable but a lot of that stuff was like, you know, and I just didn't know what to do. Well, anyway, they just called me up and said, hey, we want to improve our show halter. So I don't know if I would come up there. When I went up there and I seen their company and then just their core values and you know, then, and so that was the way it was just really just a show halter improvement. Well, then as things rocked along there, then, you know, they're like, hey, can we get a little bit more and, you know, a little more broader in our line, you know? And I mean, I'm like, look, if you're going to do that, you're going to have everything down to the scrub brush, you know, or whatever. I'm just saying, like, I mean, all of it. You can't just have like 10 items, and expect to be a threat, I mean,
Right.
and so they're like, hey, well, you know what? And they kind of talked about it and they didn't know about it, but, and, at that point, it was just me and Lisa Shear really at that point. And anyway, we just kind of started working on, what the line ought to be and this and that, and working with Paul Weaver and the Weaver team. And anyway, so it just, it was pretty much a skeleton crew at the beginning, you know what I mean? And of course now there's a lot more, it's way more individuals but I mean, they've got the capability of doing a lot of different things yeah, they're an awesome company. And it was one of them things where it really was trying to position things that's not out there. You know what I mean? It really wasn't trying to, the thing I liked about it is, I mean, the whole deal wasn't like something like, I mean, to me, where a lot of people made the mistake was trying to reproduce what's already there. To me, the deal was trying to make something that's not there, and I mean, so, and I mean, like the Hereford paints, I mean, that was a big milestone at the first of that, you know what I mean? Just because at that point, everything was more Shorthorn or more Maine or more Reds, I mean, we needed something more, for those breeds. So when we got those, that was just, we tried to get stuff going that wasn't there, you know what I mean? So, yeah. And so, I mean, like, we do a lot of testing, still do a lot of testing, a lot of ideas, you know what I mean? And, you know what I mean? But the thing about it is like a lot of times you'll learn something off these either chemists, or you'll learn something maybe in another division, you know what I mean? Like in the horse world, like part of that, like on them brown show halters and that kind of rustic antique kind of brass hardware. I mean, that comes from the equine side. If you look at those horse halters and stuff like that, I mean, I'm just saying is, a lot of that stuff can you can pick up a lot of different ideas and different, there's some of these brushes and different things like that, okay, I'll tell you one, the shedding comb.
Okay.
The shedding, what everybody's probably using now and everything, it come out of the dog world, that originated out of the dog world. And I'm just saying, so, yeah. And so, they were involved in all them different, whether it's equine or pet and different stuff like that. And I was just saying, so to me, and it's like I said, our family's involved not only on the livestock side, I mean, stuff like that, but then, like I said, they are, we do some stuff with the equine stuff too, and just different feedback and basically, a lot of times you're just trying to take what's happening at the tip of the branch or out there in the field and then hook it to the engineers or the chemist or whatever and try to devise something that not only makes your cattle look better, but it makes you more competitive and maybe user friendly or something like that, So yeah, it's an ongoing deal. And I mean, technology in this show thing, and even the clippers and the blades and I'm talking about the feeds and the show supplies and the trucks the trailers, the trailers, these, they're awesome. I mean, like, what they can do. I'm just saying that whole technology thing has been like really good for this industry. And I mean, it's been fun to try to make it better, and I'm just saying, but like I said, they, like I said, they've tried to put stuff where there's something that's not, not there, so yeah, not, they've tried to, they also got the line in there too as well, but also to me trying to, and I think that's the thing that's going to be neat about what goes ahead. I mean, this technology thing and what gets, I mean, who knows, what I mean? I'm just saying the creativity, at the level it is today, and it could be somebody out in the barn saying, hey, I put together this brush or whatever, heck, if you look at that wide range brush, the round one with it's a hairbrush with a handle on it. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, and look at, that thing's awesome. I mean, I'd be like, why didn't I think of that? Shoot. Son of a gun. But but I'm just saying is like, that sky's the limit. These people are I'm not only professional people, but I'm just talking about people out there doing it. They're creative. I love the creativity that they have. I do.
There's some innovative folks for sure in this business, and we all see it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh yeah. Hey, so talk to me real quick about something that I know is important to you. education. You were probably in the forefront of education.
Yeah.
The Stierwalt clinics, as we know them in the South, probably originated in Leedy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Talk to us about the education side of you and why it was and is still so important to you. I want to give you that time, that due respect that you've earned in that, but talk about why that's so important to you.
Well, I mean, and I'm going to say to my knowledge, the very first one would be Doc Brandon or Russ Brandon would be, I mean, used to do some clinics and he actually did this for Kent Feed back in the years ago. And I mean, they would send him around and a lot of times you'll see some of this stuff like Doc Brandon show supplies, or, I mean, and that he's kind of the one that, well, I would say would be the very first. But I mean, but it was pretty basic, to be honest with you. And I'm just saying this, and I was just like, man, I just kind of like that concept, but I was just like, I mean, people were hungry to try to be, better. And I was like, man, I wish I could have went somewhere where I could have just like, just got somebody's trial and error over many years, and they're going to let me have a little bit of that, what I mean, and help me not do what they did wrong, what I mean? Like, I don't know if you tell people what to do right. I just tell them, hey, don't do what I did because I did it wrong, right? But anyway, I mean, I'm just saying most people were hungry for it, and I mean, and including myself, and I'm still like that. I'm still watching, I'm still looking, and I'm still willing to learn something off of anybody. And I'm just saying and being able to hang out with the people that got the same, I guess, desire and passion that you got. But the thing about it is like, you would see people out there struggling, trying to, just, I just need some direction. That's all they needed is some direction. They needed most of the deal was that when I was looking at that, people needed a direction and they almost needed a plan. Give me some kind of a system or a plan or a direction, or give me something that I can, give me some foundation stuff here, what I mean? And get me going, what I mean? Because, and that's really where it started, and it was small when I first started. I mean, me and Julie, we'd have, I think 5 or 6 come to our house, stay in our house. And then, I mean, that was the way it started. And oh yeah, I mean, and it's just something that I've always enjoyed. And I mean, I just got done. I mean, I drove home today from a clinic in Loveland, Colorado, and I mean, I'm booked up every weekend till I think August 23rd, I mean, and I'm talking about in some states like, you don't think about maybe Maine and North Carolina and
Wow.
Tennessee and North Dakota and Washington and Oregon. And I mean, just some, and I'm just saying this, but people, and now way I look at it, it's just I mean, it's a, we call them clinics and you call them seminars, but the way this technology thing's going, to me, it's more of an update. I mean, you could go to the clinic this year and next year it'll be different because I just know that I just know with the people that I work with, I mean, there's new stuff coming. I mean, there's things coming. And so you're trying to relay that. And to me, that's cool. What I mean? So to me, it's an update. And I mean, I think but I'm just saying that it's been fun for me. And it's been a blessing for me. I mean, I love it. And I mean, I never get tired of it. And I mean, it's just all levels too. It doesn't matter. They could be 6 years old to 60 or whatever. I'm just saying it doesn't. I said 60 because Kent say he's going to turn 60. But anyway.
Well, don't you know he'd be a beginner?
But I mean, it's just one of the things. And then the thing about it is it's a family environment. What you go do these clinics and, you got mom and dad or grandpa and grandma. I mean, just whatever. I mean, it's a good deal. I mean, as far as just hanging out with a group of people that, that's awesome. So, but I mean, like I said, this is the 30, let me think here, 30, I've been doing clinics for 35 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 35. So anyway, but
that's great.
It's awesome. Now, and I'm going to say this. So, and I'll just tell this real quick, but like the first demo I did away from home was a disaster. I mean, I actually did it for Prina and Sunbeam, and they hired me in 2001 to come down to Fort Worth and do this cattle grooming demonstration for this animal experience deal they were going to do. And anyway, it was, and they told me, you got to bring an animal, you got to bring a everything. I mean, we were going to have you a place to do it, but I mean, you bring everything. Okay. So, but in the meantime, 9/11 happened. So this deal was 2 weeks after 9/11. Well, I mean, they thought about canceling it, but they didn't. Well, anyway, so I ended up doing, so I go down there and I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, this is my first demo away from home. And anyway, so there's nobody there. It's a ghost town down there at Fort Worth in the stockyards. They put me outside there on the sidewalk underneath the sun and blue sky. I thought I was going to be in a building or a tent or something. No, I was out there underneath. And I'm telling you, so I ended up walking around through there and killing time. I hadn't talked to anybody. Didn't really know. I ended up over there in the Prina Rabbit booth. And the only guy I really talked to was the Prina Rabbit guy. I mean, and they had a huge rabbit booth display. I was just like, holy cow, there's like a million rabbits in here, it seems like, you know what I mean? But me and the rabbit guy hit it off, right? I mean, I just really, because he likes sports and I like sports and football and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, so they announced my name. I go get the heifer, put her in the chute, and then they announce it again. Kirk Stierwalt can do a cattle grooming demonstration sponsored by Sunbeam Oster Clippers and Prina Mills. And anyway, I keep waiting. Nobody shows up. And so I'm like, oh crap. But anyway, so I didn't know what to do, but I thought if I could get paid, I'm going to have to go ahead and just do it. So I did probably the hardest thing I've ever did in my life. So I just started talking to the blue sky, like, okay, folks, what we're going to do today here is we're going to talk about grooming cattle. And I mean, nobody, and every now and then somebody would walk by there. I mean, every now and then and look at me like, who's he talking to? You know what I mean? Like that. And I just kept rolling. And then it got worse actually, because a father and son came to the demo and I knew them. So now I got witnesses to a wreck, right? So anyway, so this is bad. That was just like,
oh my gosh.
Joke. And anyway, but to make long story short, that's all I had was those two people. And anyway, so I was picking up my stuff and a guy walked up behind me and said, well, how'd it go? And I know I probably snapped around. I was down on the ground picking up my stuff and I looked around and well, it was a rabbit guy. And I said, oh, it was rough. It was terrible. He goes, I know, I watched you. And I go, you did? I go, he goes, you had two? I go, yeah, I had two. Anyway, we talked there and we talked about education. And I told him, you know, how I was really passionate about this education thing. And he was just intrigued. And I really couldn't figure out why he was so interested. But I thought maybe the rabbit guy was going to start putting on clinics or something. You know what I mean? I didn't really know where he was going with it. He wanted to know if I had a business card. Of course, he didn't have a business card. So anyway, I wrote it on a piece of paper. Well, he gave me his business card. And when he gave me his business card, he wasn't a rabbit guy at all. He was the national sales manager for the whole company at Prina. He was an executive guy. And 2 months later, he called me and says, hey, I want to start this ambassador program. And you've intrigued me on what you told me down there at Fort Worth. I ain't never forgot it. And he goes, you want to take a chance with me on some blue sky? You know what? I said, well, I'll take that blue sky because I seen the bottom. It's down there on that piece of concrete.
Wow.
And this is my 20th year to be an ambassador for Prina.
Oh, I'll be dang.
So I always tell them, you know, sometimes you got to do stuff you don't want to do, but that dirty, rotten day in September was one of the best days of my life, right? But anyway, so and then now they picked up Kai, you know, the next generation kind of ambassador. So I mean, if I'd have went home, man, I'd have screwed up a lot of stuff. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's anyway. Probably tried to tell that story quick. So anyway, so
oh, that's a good. That is a good. Hey, Kirk, I got one more kind of two-part deal to wrap up here. First of all, what kind of top secret hobbies or activities do you enjoy outside of the livestock industry? And then also, what is your favorite moment up to this point outside of family events?
I'm gonna answer that one. I tell you what I like to do is I like to bass fish. Yeah, I do. I do. We've got some pretty nice ponds out here, and I mean, and now, like I said, I'm going to do a clinic in Oregon, and I'm going to go a day early so I can go salmon fishing. But I like I don't hunt. You know, Kai hunts and some of them, but yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, I like the bass fish. You bet. Yeah, the other thing I like a lot is I like that. I like football. I like college football and pro football. You know what I mean? I'm a Chiefs fan. So anyway, so I'm just saying, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying that you know, if I can get one of them games, I'm all about it. But anyway, yeah, those are a couple things I like to do, you know, I mean, but I like that fishing because I mean, it's peaceful out there and we got a good couple, I mean, we got some nice places to go here and it's not far from the house and I can go get, yeah. And in fact,
it's that good blue sky.
Hey, do I?
It's that good blue sky you talked about.
Yeah, and guess what? This is going to be the another part of the story. But that guy that gave me that chance, and he's not. I mean, he's actually coming at the end of this month, and we're going to go bass fishing for a couple days here on our ranch.
Oh, awesome!
No kidding.
The guy that gave me the chance, yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, favorite moment. What is? I can't leave you without outside of your family, and I know you're pumped about.
And that's a hard one, but you know what? I'm not so sure that moment that I just told you about would be way up there because it opened up a lot of stuff for me. You know what I mean? And I was just trying. You know what I mean? I didn't. And I'm going to say this: that moment was pretty big to me because I was probably as low as you could get a person, and it ended up being a really good moment for me, and I just didn't know it. You know what I mean? And I mean, I don't know. I don't know where I'd say that moment is, but I mean, if you know, if you say outside the family, then that, and it's kind of like, you know, I'm a family guy, and I know one of the questions was if I broke both my arms, you know, who would I ask to go clip my calf?
Right.
You know who that'd be?
No.
It'd be my son. It'd be Kai.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it'd be easy. Because I mean, we still clip together, you know what I mean, and it's like he's pretty good.
Good. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, but I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know where that moment is. I mean, if you gave me a week to think about that, I don't even know, you know, I don't know, but I know that one there was something that opened up a lot of doors, you know what I mean, to me. I mean, just, and not right then. I'm talking about that's the thing it was like,
Boy, that's such a teaching deal there because it'd been pretty easy to half-ass that deal and just not right. But clearly you must have came across and put on a good show because it impressed that guy enough to give you his business card.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I'm just saying, you got nobody watching you, it'd be real easy to not do as quality.
Well, and I like to tell that story at these clinics and stuff because I like to hear their answers, you know what I mean? Because actually, and it's funny to me because you'll go places and somebody will say, well, they'll do it or they'll wait or they'll go reannounce or whatever. And then you'll get some places where there'll be like 90% of them will say, I just pack it up and leave. I go home. I'm gone. I'm out of here later. You know, this ain't for me. There ain't nothing here for me. I'm just like, but I mean, to me, the deal's like sometimes you're gonna have to do some stuff you don't want to do, all of us, and to get to where you want to get. And you know, it's just one of them things that, yeah, it just taught me a lot. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm pretty humble with that one right there. So
they say the hardest thing
to mess it up. It'd have been so easy to mess it up. I mean, if I'd just been like, man, this ain't, I mean, there's no sense of even doing it because there ain't nobody here. But the thing about it is at least I was smart enough to figure I just got to knock this thing out so I can get paid, right? I was really more worried about getting paid. I wasn't really worried about anything, you know what I mean? I wasn't thinking that deep at the moment, all right?
Yeah, right. But you know that it's to be said that the worst thing you can eat in your life is humble pie.
Yeah.
But that piece right there was what you just said, the best piece you ever had.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was like, Oh yeah, yeah, that's good stuff. But anyway, yeah, yeah. I mean, this industry, you know, and I'm going to say this, like, um, I'm probably as proud of this industry as I've ever been right now, and through the COVID and through all the world challenges going on right now. You know, I mean, the thing about it is that's been so awesome to watch is either associations or groups of people or certain individuals have rallied and created shows and opportunity for these young people and their families to still continue to show livestock. You know what I mean? And I'm just thinking, you know, it just I think it reflects on what we've got. A lot of good people in this thing, and some of them had to rally up and make some things happen. And I mean, you know, when we needed it the most, in my mind, you know what I mean? I mean, it's just like, you know what, it's just, you know, because there's been a lot of different people have tried different stuff, different shows, and different, you know, I mean, we could name them several, but I'm just saying but it's neat that they all come together and do that. And I think that's awesome. I mean, they got the world shut down for a little bit, but they didn't get this industry shut down that long, to me.
It's hard to shut down ag. So
yeah, you still got to feed them. It don't matter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you bet. Well, Kirk, I got to tell you, it has been a pleasure having you on here tonight.
I've enjoyed it. You bet. It's been a lot of fun. I'm sure we didn't get through all the questions that we were supposed to, but
hey, it don't matter. We got them. We got the bases covered, and so I enjoyed
awesome.
it.
I appreciate you guys and the opportunity. Like I said, you guys got a good thing going on, and I tell you what, there again, what you're doing here, I think, is awesome because of this, you know, communicating on what's going on at the shows. I mean, I listen to you on the Grand Drive and whatnot, you know what I mean, and at OYE and different places, and you know what, if it's a great thing what you're doing and what you do. I just, you know what, it's I just think it's awesome. So anyway, hats off to you guys. I mean, and to Paige and everybody that's involved on this thing, because it's been, I mean, you've all really got something. You got something here. You got something good here. I'm telling you.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Well, yeah, every episode we shut her down with what we have deemed the cattleman for Christ. And tonight, going along with your story, is Philippians 4:9. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice. God's peace will be with you. And so I think that's exactly what your little message reflected that tonight for me. Just put it in and go. So Kirk, thanks. Next week.
Thank you.
Hey man, next week's episode, you guys listen up. Matt Scasta, Nate Tice, and the Weingartner crew will be with us, and we're going to talk everything junior national and state fair prep of your cattle with some guys who are industry leaders. So check with us next week. So
it'll be great.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Kirk, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I've enjoyed it. It's been a blast.